Hi everyone, welcome back and thanks for joining me today. This is Jonna with Purple Girl Crafts. Today we're going to be making this fun fold card. So as I pull off the belly band, you'll see that when you open this, the image will go into the center of the card. Now it does open all the way, but this is how it will look when it's displayed. So the image will stay in the center. This card requires no die cuts. This is how it will look when you're looking, at it when it's displayed. It measures 4 3/4 by 6. And then if you want, when you put your belly band, if you just push it in a little bit, it'll help to slide that right back on. So let's get started. So the first thing we'll need is our scoreboard, and our first piece is going to be cut at 9.5 by 6. We're going to turn that back on the 9.5-inch side, and we are going to score this at 2 1/4. I know it looks like I'm measuring different, but do it at 2 1/4 and 7. The measurements I'm showing are correct. So you'll have that piece. Then we will need one piece, and this is 1 3/8 by 12. And this is just going to be for the belly band, so you can make it any thickness. We'll need 2 pieces at 4.5 by 5 3/4. And then we'll need one piece at, this is the pattern paper for that. So we just need those 2 pieces, and that will lay on top of there. Then we will need 2 pieces, and these are going to be cut at 2 7/8 by 3 3/4. And then we'll need 2 pieces at 2 3/4 by 3.5, and those will be for on top of there. Now these are going to see they look a little funny, but we're going to only put a border around 3 of the sides, so that's why it looks a little bit big. We'll get to that in a few minutes. Then we need 4 pieces. These are going to be 2 1/8 by 5 3/4. And again, you'll need 4, and we're going to do 2 different pattern papers. So the first 2, and these are all going to be the same dimensions at 2 1/8 by 5 3/4. But we'll need 2 of one pattern, and then I'm doing 2 of the polka dotted paper. Again, 2 1/8 by 5 3/4. And those will go in those 2 pieces. Then we will need 2 pieces, and these are going to be 1 1/4 by 5 1/2. And we are going to score both of these, so we're going to score these at 3/4 of an inch, 1 1/2, and 4 3/4. And you'll want to do that on both pieces. And then we'll fold those down. And these are going to be for the mechanism on the inside. And so we are done with our scoreboard, so we're going to move that out of the way. And we're going to take those 2 pieces that we just did, and we're just going to fold those out and then crease them. And you want to do this all in the same direction so you can do them all in a mountain fold. You should end up with a piece like that, and then we'll do the same thing. Now, if you are using pattern paper, you want to make sure that you're doing it the right way so that you don't see this, but you're not going to see them, so you really don't need to use any kind of decorative paper. All right, so we'll set those aside. And then we're going to work on these 2 pieces. Now, again, we're only going to do a border on the 3 edges. So on one end, we're going to make it go even with the edge of the paper. So I'm going to glue this first one down. And then I'm just going to make sure I've got, again, my border on just 3 of the sides. And then just go ahead and just push out that glue. And do the same on the other one. The reason being is because this is where the design is going to sit on the inside, and so you don't want that gap on the bottom and the top where they're going to go together. So just like that. So you want to have no edge in the middle, just on the outside border. All right, so we'll set that aside. Then we're going to glue the other pieces. So we're going to glue the tops and bottoms to these 4 pieces. I'm going to grab my mat just so I don't get glue everywhere, because I tend to use a little bit too much glue. So I'm just going to lay out all these pieces, and then I'm just going to glue the pieces down. Since they're all the same size, it doesn't matter. If you wanted to use your tape and use your tear and tape on here, that would be a good way to use tape on it too, or even just your little tape rollers that I've seen people use. So I'm just making sure these are lined up, and then I'm just going to secure them down. And again, I'm going to use the red striped paper on the inside and the polka dotted on the outside. So those are all glued down and done. So next we're going to work on this. It's going to be the inside piece that'll go on the inside panel of the card. So we're going to glue that piece down too. And with the magic of the camera, I've already glued it. And this is a little bit thicker weight just to help the card too. Right now for the base piece of the card, we're going to fold this. We're just going to fold those two pieces in and then just go ahead and score them. And make sure they're lined up in the middle. So next we're going to put our pieces on. So again, we're going to put the red on the inside. And when I lay these down, I make sure that I got my pattern going the same way, and I like the way the pattern is. And then we'll just secure those down. And I'm just making sure I've got that even edge all the way around. And then I'll put the last one right in the center. And make sure it's lined up. And then use that bone folder to push out that glue. Perfect. Making sure it looks good. All right, so next what we're going to do is we're going to do the two pieces on the inside. Now these, you don't need to put them in any, dimension from the end. I'm just going to glue them on. We're going to glue one on the top and one on the bottom. You don't want to go all the way to the edge, but when these are on there, these are going to sit on it. So you want to make sure that you do have it on the top and the bottom, but you also don't want it at the exact top because you don't want the middle of it to cave in. So I'm just going to put glue on one tab. I'm going to lay it down. I'm going to make sure it's lined up, and see we're going about a half an inch from the edge. So I'm just going to line it up, and then I'm just going to close that one flap on top of it. And then we'll make sure it's secured down. Make sure there's no extra glue, and just like that. And then for this piece, what we're going to do is we're going to glue that other side down. But you want to make sure this is glued before you start gluing it. So let's just glue the other one, give that piece a little bit time to dry. So again, we're just going to lay this down. It's going towards the center of the card. So we're going to put glue on this flap. And then again, make sure that piece is facing that way. And then just make sure it's up against that fold, and then just close it on itself. And making sure that it is straight too. All right, once that is in, I'm going to go ahead and just crease out that fold on the end. And we're going to glue these down. So on the inside ones, we're going to glue it, as you can see. So what we want to do is we're going to, you're going to lay it flat. So you're going to put glue just on that last tab. And you can do it either way. You can just lay it flat like that, but make sure that it is straight. It's a little bit crooked. And then make sure it closes on itself. So that's the easiest way to do it. And again, making sure it's straight. And I'm just creasing out those folds again. So we'll do the other side. So again, we're going to put glue just on that last tab. And just tuck it in itself and just lay it flat. And then just crease out that glue. And again, you want to make sure these are really secure before you start doing any other gluing on them. That is that piece. So that's the inside of the card. Now to do the panels, what we're going to do is we're going to take these two pieces and I'm just going to line it up so it's at the edge of that piece we just glued. I also want to make sure that they don't overlap in the center and they are lined up. And they will line up with the edge of the silver paper that we did. So you see, I'm just making sure they're lined up and that they're going to fit and that they do stay in the card. So the easiest way to do this is to put glue on this one whole bar or this piece. I'm going to take one of the pieces, making sure that the border is at the bottom and you don't have the border on that middle piece. Just lay it so it's lined up with the card. Close the card and then you can make sure that it's straight and lined up. Because if you're using your glue, you have time to move it. Just like that. And then we'll do the other side, same thing. I'm just going to turn the card the other way. We're going to put glue on it again. And again, I'm just making sure that it does line up and that it fits and it doesn't get caught on itself. So we're going to put glue on here. And then you lay that on top. And then close the card. And then you can just do any adjustments from there, making sure that it's even. And I'm really just pushing that in just to make sure it's straight. And that will be for the inside of the card. Now for the outside of the card, we're just going to put these two panels on. And you can put these on now or you can wait till later. I'm just going to glue these down. And then we'll glue this one right to here. Okay, that looks good. So one more time just to make sure that glue is secure. Now we're going to work on the inside of the card. I'm just making sure it's lined up and then it's straight. So I have my Fred. I did draw this. And when you do this, you want to make sure that he's in the center. So I just cut him in half. I just cut him on the trimmer, just cut him right in half. So you want your image to be on the top and the bottom. When you line this up, what I'm doing is I'm making sure when the one left flap is closed, that he's in the middle of what's left showing, if that makes sense. So I'll show you as I put glue on here. So again, I'm just going to make sure he's up to the edge of that piece. And then he's just about in the middle of where it's showing now, because then it'll be in the middle of the card when the card is open. You don't want to put it in the exact middle. You want to do it more towards how I'm doing it here, because when the card opens, if it's in the exact middle, it won't line up. So by closing just one flap, it will line up perfectly for you. And then just go ahead and just secure that down. Right. So as you can see, when it's closed, it'll look like that. I mean, when it's closed, it'll look like that. And then when you open it, the image will come together. All right, now what we're going to do is we're just going to do some hearts, Happy Valentine's Day. And some of this I'm going to speed through just as I start gluing it down. All right, so I've got the Valentine's Day. Now, when I cut this out, I realized that it was just a little bit too big. So I'm going to take the day off of here. I'm going to cut this sentiment apart, and I'm going to put Happy Valentine's on the top, and then I'm going to put day at the bottom. Because it's just a little bit too big. I don't like that it goes over his head. So again, as I've said in previous videos, I like to lay things out, see how it's going to look, because it's easier to change it before you glue it than after you glue it. And then I also have these little hearts with the arrows. So I'm going to put these just around the card. And then let me just grab some of the other ones. I'll show you what else I have. So I've got this little red heart here. I'm going to put that on top just so it just has some color on it. And then I've got just some other random hearts that I've cut out and I've kept through different cards that I've made. All right, so I'm going to cut this apart. And then just going to clean it up just a little bit. So we're going to put this at the bottom. I know it's hard to see because it kind of blends in. And then we'll put the Happy Valentine's at the top. That looks better so it doesn't ride over the top of his head. And then I've got just some other hearts. I've got hearts with arrows. I've got hearts in silver, in red. I'm just going to fast forward and just put a bunch of stuff down. So that is all I'm going to put on the inside for now. Now we're going to work on the outside of the card. So I'm going to grab that long piece, and this is for the belly band. And I'm just going to start it on the side. I'm going to use my little board here just to line it up. Make sure my paper's straight. And I'm just going to fold that one flap in. And then I'll just fold the other one over it. I'm not going to do it too tight because I want to make sure it's got room to slide up and down. And then I'll go ahead and I'll just crease out that fold. And we're going to do that on both sides. And then I'm going to test this. I'm just going to put the belly band back on it. So I want to make sure it will slide. And that slides pretty good. Now you can decide which way you want it to go. So that looks really good, just like that. Right, so I did cut out a heart, and I don't like it because it doesn't match the colors of the card. So we're not going to use that. So I'm going to set that aside, but we are going to glue this belly band down. So first I'm just going to glue it. I'm just going to glue the where it hangs over the edge to that center piece. Now you can use tape on this because if you're using the metallic paper, sometimes the glue doesn't stick, but you want to make sure this is lined up and straight. So I'm going to just make sure it slides still. And make sure it's tight enough so that it does keep the card closed. And again, we'll put a heart on here, but we're going to use a different heart. So I cut out a black and white one with the same paper, and then I did a red just to have a shadow behind it because I think that looks better. And then I'm just going to add some more of the hearts on the front. So to glue this, I'm just going to glue the top piece down to the other heart, making sure I don't go all the way to the edge so that it doesn't seep over. And I'm just going to just offset it just a little bit so it's got that border. And that will sit just like that. And then I'm going to put a heart on here. So again, I'm just going to just start adding some hearts and just add just a little bit of embellishments. And we'll put one just so it's on the other heart, just like that. And then we're going to glue this down. So I just put glue right in the middle. And then I'm just going to secure that heart to it. And that is it. That is the card that we made today. I want to thank you for joining me. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. Until next time, happy crafting, and I hope to see you real soon. Bye-bye.